Welcome to Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks at X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. I'm Hillary.
And I'm Eric, and today we're talking about the X-Men animated series, specifically Season 3? Do we still say seasons once you get past the second season? It gets kind of confusing.
Of course we do. We have to be precise.
Season 3, the first 3 episodes of the Phoenix Saga. So that's Phoenix Saga Part 1, Sacrifice, Part 2, Dark Shroud, and Part 3, Cry of the Banshee.
Yeah, so there's 5 total, right?
Yeah.
5 total.
7 if you count those 2 episodes with Lady Deathstrike as part of Phoenix Saga.
Oh, that's true. Would you count them? I think it sort of counts. I mean, they get a good...
I feel like I do. Like, you can't just watch those 2 and then like, well, off with my life.
I watched these Lady Deathstrike things.
But yeah, at the same time, they are also kind of detached until just at the end where it's like, coming soon!
The Phoenix Saga.
Ooh.
It is funny that they introduce it at, like, the Phoenix Saga at the end of the thing. How many people do you think watching it would have, like, been comic people and, like, known what that meant?
I don't know. I couldn't guess. I mean, X-Men comics, these came out September 1994, so X-Men was still, still pretty high. I think we have like another year or 2 until the market crashes, but I think you have a lot of people also reading the comics. But I mean, the Phoenix Saga, that's, late 70s, early 80s era of X-Men, and like at the time, the trade paperback market wasn't the same as it is now.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you might know what the Phoenix Saga is, and you might never have read it. So, even if you were a comic book fan who jumped on when Jim Lee was drawing, this might be your first interaction with the Phoenix Saga in its whole.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
So,
I read the Dark Phoenix Saga. I don't think I've read the original one. Is the original one, is it the Dark Phoenix or the original one where she kills an entire planet?
That would be the Dark Phoenix. That is something that's very dark for the Phoenix to do. I said late 70s, early 80s, but it is 1976 that X-Men 100 came out, and that's the one where she's piloting the shuttle. So, yeah, I mean, that's even, longer. So
what happened in the original one? Because I've only read the Dark one.
Basically what you're watching.
It's just
you really probably shouldn't be admitting all of this as you host your Phoenix Saga.
You're the one.
No. It's I mean, it is kind of what you're seeing, and it's kind of not. There's stuff not here. Like in the comics, the X-Men are separated, and they don't realize they're in space at one point because you got Banshee, Jean, and Wolverine up in space. And the Sentinels are involved very early on, and in issue 100, the new X-Men, the giant-sized Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, and Wolverine team, end up fighting the original 5 X-Men, or also I think Havoc and Polaris are there. But the old ones are actually robots, so it's a big,
wow.
It's just kind of like a fight. Yeah, and then Jean, the Dark Xavier thing that we see later wasn't part of it. It's been a while since I've read just the Phoenix Saga.
Yeah. So. I guess whenever I think, like even before I had read the comics, I guess when I think about the Phoenix Saga, I really think about Dark Phoenix Saga.
Yeah, you and Hollywood both.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I guess it just sort of, we'll talk about like the plot of the episodes and stuff, but it does sort of feel like it's not really a Phoenix Saga. It's like a Shi'ar Saga, and the Phoenix is a part of it.
Yeah, but the problem is, the difference between even the show and the movies versus the comics is that you do have Phoenix and the whole Shi'ar stuff with the M'Kraan crystal, but then she's Phoenix for a while.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of... there's this whole build-up to the Dark Phoenix Saga, and then when it is the Dark Phoenix Saga, we've seen Jean just being Jean but super powerful and maybe realizing the powers getting the best of her, whereas... in the movies, it's always just like, no, she gets these powers and she's instantly Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So,
well, I guess at least the show people really feel the power of the original Phoenix Saga, because did you know that they aired the entire 5-part Phoenix Saga in consecutive days?
Yeah, a 5-night event. That's something. That was back when you could pull that stuff up. I mean, Cartoon Network could pull that stuff off now, but like,
sure.
I remember when Power Rangers was a primetime event.
Yeah.
When they got rid of the original dinosaur Zords, and then when they were bringing in the new Zords, I remember like staying up for that. So
When did it originally? Because like having it 5 nights, so like kids would have had to just like change their entire schedules and.
So yeah, September 5th through September 9th, 1994.
That's wild.
But I mean, that was Fox. Fox Kids they could do that crap and get away with it.
The world.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the show, they do the 5-part Phoenix Saga, and then spoilers, Jean isn't there for a while, and then she comes back, and then she does the Dark Phoenix Saga, and it's still not like the legwork that the comics did, but it's also the fact that they do the Phoenix Saga is something the movies can never say they did.
Yeah, well, they put in some amount of like they introduce it, they give it some space.
Yeah.
And then there's the dark.
They really give us some space because the show, it's in space, everybody. I've been taking improv classes.
I can tell. It is paying off, baby. Okay, so the previous 2 episodes that we watched before the Phoenix Saga.
Well. We watched Hillary.
I knew you were going to bring it up.
Hillary
Listen.
recorded those 2 episodes without me, thinking I had ghosted her.
I did think you... Listen, just...
She texted me asking if when I was going to be able to watch them, and I never responded, so she thought I had no interest in them.
I was like, well, I guess he doesn't want to do these episodes. We'll just jump straight to the Phoenix Saga.
So then come, like, a couple of Fridays ago, I'm just walking down the street by myself, and I get a text from Hillary saying, hey, I've been texting your wrong number all these months.
Don't change your phone number, Eric. Come on.
I guess.
Consistency.
I am surprised that whoever has my old number isn't like, yeah, I'd love to watch the X-Men show and talk about it.
Right? I mean, everybody loves the animated series. He's probably let's do it.
I still get texts and phone calls from whoever used to have my new number, and the little window I get into this person's life is fascinating.
Oh my gosh. I got a really good one recently.
I'm actually really nervous sometimes for this person. I'm like, oh boy, I hope they get out of this jam.
Oh my gosh.
So
most of mine are just like I'll get like spam because my number for some reason has a Tennessee area code, and so I'll just get spam from Tennessee.
That's dumb.
But recently I got a text that was very juicy, and it was all like, hey, Stan, we met at a wedding recently, and I thought we really made a connection, so you want to hook up.
Wow. You just
and I ghosted them, so I guess I know
now that person will never. You didn't even text wrong number?
No,
because now that person thinks they're getting ghosted. That's true love just denied.
I sort of assumed it was also probably a scam of some kind that you would like text back and they'd be like, haha, give me your bank.
Well, I still did my work and watched the 2 Out of the Past or whatever they're called episodes.
The commitment.
What are they called?
Okay.
Out of the Past.
Yeah, Out of the Past. So that's the one. So it was the one where there is what's her face?
Lady
Deathstrike, and she's looking for some treasure, and she finds that Shi'ar ship, and lets loose a monster.
Yeah.
And then we have, someone that I guess we don't know trying to contact Xavier.
Yep.
And that's like the lead-in to these episodes.
It's Xavier almost being wrong number who this, so.
Yeah. If he just ignored it, then all of this could have been avoided.
Yep, for sure.
But okay, so the Phoenix Saga starts. First episode, Sacrifice. And it starts with Xavier dreaming of a Shi'ar like space battle happening.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have the ships flying around. There's bug ships and then like green ships, and I'm not really sure who's who.
It's very Star Wars by way of Lego. Those designs. It always feels like I felt like I had a lot. There was this run that Legos did late 90s called like Insectoids or something, and they were like bug themed spaceships and minifigs and whatnot. And I always think of them when I'm seeing. When I see the Shi'ar ships with the big bug eyes, which doesn't make sense because they're bird people.
I thought that too. They're bird people.
They always have like an insect aesthetic along. Yeah.
Birds eat bugs.
Yep, and then those whales. It's all
just like. Is it like an insult to the bugs? Like we'll just
maybe that's it.
Use your image. Anyway, so they're fighting, and then we have Xavier's panicked voice over all of it, being like, "Who are you? Where are you? What are you?
You are driving me mad."
Which is how we all dream, I believe. We all just have a weird voiceover. And then he wakes up and he's freaking out and he calls a meeting of all the X-Men in the middle of the night.
Yeah. To be fair, though, Xavier's brain is super powerful. So the fact that he might be like super conscious and aware in his dreams, I believe he's an active dreamer.
Okay, sure.
With his psychic powers, I believe that part of him is in the astral plane watching his dreams.
Just at all times. He's just
Yeah.
he's just watching. He's like, don't do that, Xavier.
Oh, look out!
There's a monster behind that door.
Everybody's here but Rogue because my theory is Rogue is too strong for the story that needs to happen.
That seems like
at these first 2 episodes of this 5-parter.
I like
it feels
that she's
like
off on just a mission.
Yeah, by
no
herself.
details
And
of
yeah.
anything.
I just feel like when they're at the end of the first episode with the shuttle going down, like Rogue would be like, "I got it.
Yeah. Well, later.
I'll just carry the ship."
Later, like is it the next episode or one of them? She's like, I should have been there. I could have piloted the thing. So I guess that explains it.
I think it really was just like, oh wow, we better just write Rogue out of this episode if we want to do the Phoenix Saga.
Listen, if I were her, this was directed by Larry Houston. If I were whoever was like in charge of the writing, I would have had just pick one other person, someone other than Rogue, and also both on a mission.
Michael Edens did part 1 and 3, and Mark Edwards Edens did part 2, 4, and 5.
Oh,
so they split up the writing there.
But yeah,
Rogue is off on a mission. Everybody else is there. You know what I like? There's this one scene where there's this one moment where Wolverine sniffs because he's right next to Jubilee. He's like, "Zit cream?"
Yes.
And Jubilee's, "Oh no, I'm not." But it's funny because like Wolverine just knows what Zit cream smells like.
He just knows what Zit cream. He's up with the teens.
Yeah.
I think it's nice. It's a nice kind of a chance to see just a little snippet of life for the X-Men. I do like that it's like the middle of the night. Like some of them are dragging themselves out of bed. Gambit shows up and he's just got home.
Yeah, he was in a late night. Yeah. You know, season 2 ends with him telling Rogue he loves her, but we see him trying to go on at least 2 dates in this episode.
He does a lot of, he's going after some ladies.
You know, I feel like if this show was on now, and it was on like Cartoon Network or something, the way animated series are, you would have those episodes that are just like, this episode's just about their domestic life.
Yeah.
This is just shopping on a road trip. You'd get those 90210 episodes.
I would love to see that.
I feel like that's where like animation is now.
Yeah, they're just like, but what is SAT prep like for these guys?
Yep, and and everybody on Twitter would be like, wow, that episode where Jubilee had to prepare for the SATs really hit home.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know when you first watched these episodes, but I Netflixed the DVD.
Oh my!
When I was a teenager to watch these episodes because they didn't have. This was
a
before
thing when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
I don't think Netflix was a thing.
No, it was. Netflix was a thing as soon as DVDs were happening. But at the time, the X-Men animated series wasn't really on DVD, so they had these 5 episodes on DVD. So it came in. That was back when I was just trying to watch any of the show. Period. Yeah. So
I saw it on Fox Kids, and then saw it again on Fox Kids, and then again and again and again and again on Fox Kids. In
1994, primetime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, no, not the very, very first, I guess.
Okay.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure. Probably on just reruns.
Okay. Yeah, the whole idea is that he wants them to break into NASA? Into the space station, anyway.
Well, he's so interesting this whole time because he doesn't know why or specifically what he wants them to do, but he needs them to do all of it.
And he's not really telling him that, yeah.
And he just drags them out of bed and is like, okay, listen, we have to break into a government facility. You have to get onto a space shuttle. You have to go to a space station. Don't ask questions.
Yep. So they go, the X-Men, all of them. Storm is going to stay on Earth, though I guess, is that another, like, she would ruin the situation? I don't think she would.
Well, I mean, she's there in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
She does something with wind, I don't know.
I guess there doesn't seem to be any reason, like, she doesn't seem to do anything on Earth, so I don't know why she's there and not up there.
Yeah, he does specifically tell her to stay behind, and it seems like he has a plan at the time.
Storm has to help Jubilee, but also I don't understand why that happens. But yeah, they end up going into NASA. I like at one point, Cyclops, like, says something about the mission, and Wolverine's just like, sorry, Dad.
Yeah, I liked that too. It's because Beast throws Wolverine over the thing. Yeah. He just like grabs him and throws him, and he's mad about it. And they have a little bit of a thing. That's
sorry,
funny.
Dad.
But they sneak into the facility,
Yep,
And
Jubilee's there to be a distraction so that
right.
they can explain why the alarm went off, which I
Which
think is a lot smarter than like
yeah.
other
Well, as soon as
cartoons.
they burst through that door and the alarm goes
Uh-huh.
off, and I was like, okay. And then they scrapped the launch, and then they were
Yep.
like, listen,
Yeah,
Jubilee,
they
you have to
have
get
to find
caught,
somebody.
so that they find somebody, and they won't, which I thought was
And
nice.
unfortunate for Jubilee, because as we learned, she always wanted to be an astronaut.
Every kid that age always wanted to be an astronaut, I'm sure.
I don't think I ever wanted to be an astronaut as a kid. Like I wanted to go to space, but I never really wanted to be like an astronaut.
Don't you want to go on one of those like trips to Mars where you just die in space or whatever?
Yeah, but at this point, it's either like with douchey billionaires or on a douchey billionaire's dime.
That's true.
So,
That's true. You, in one way or another, you're
no.
supporting a douchey billionaire.
Yeah. But Jean, okay, so Jean's using her powers a lot at the beginning to do lots of things. She's like pulling levers. She's making people see, like she gets the space captain, the pilot, to think they're all
Yeah.
the space crew. It's a lot more of Jean's powers than ever before, and it's like, well, where was all this? And yet, like,
All of
why are
this
you
could be
just
very helpful.
front
Sure.
loading all this before she becomes Phoenix? I guess it's kind of a reminder of her power level, but still, if she can do this stuff now, she could have done it before.
Yeah. But I think because it's the Phoenix Saga, they want to be like, so
Yeah.
remember Jean? We haven't
Yep.
done much with Jean. Here she is.
Oh boy.
But they go because they're trying. There's something that there's a doctor who's going on to a space station to do some sciencey thing. And
Yep.
Xavier thinks that he's going to be in trouble. And so they don't stop him from going, but they're going to go with him. And they all go to this space station. And it turns out that Eric the Red, any relation?
No, no relation between me and the S&M Viking of this episode.
All right. When he first appeared, there was shading, and I was positive that his legs, like his thighs, were bare. That it was
Bare
like big
legs,
boots,
yeah. He
bare
looks like
legs.
that Zardoz. It looks like the
Yes,
Sean
it
Connery
does look like
Zardoz
Oh, it
costume.
looks, wow, exactly like Zardoz. That's
I
hilarious.
wonder, yeah. But yeah, Eric the Red, I like seeing him show up, but he's a character that even I get exhausted with because it's like, yeah, sometimes he's his own character that works for the Shi'ar. Sometimes he's a pretend alias being used by Cyclops or Magneto or something. It's just like, enough.
But in this
So-
case, he's working for the Shi'ar. Because he's like, what is it he says? He's like just a guy who hangs around this region of space.
Did they use the term emissary, or am I just making that up?
I mean, they might, but I don't think that he's actually supposed to be interacting with people. Like, he's not coming and being
Right.
like, I am of the Shi'ar. He's just sort of like,
Eric the
watching.
Red, I think, was one of the very first like road bumps when I started reading the comics as a teenager. Because like he shows up, he's like, I'm Eric the Red, and Cyclops is like, you can't be Eric the Red, I'm Eric the Red. And I'm like,
Oh
I
my
have no
gosh.
idea what's happening.
just use different names. I
Yeah.
like Eric the Red in this because he's just
Over
like,
it?
like a jerk and like an idiot. He's just sort of like, I've just been killing time here and it's
Yep.
stupid. And like, he just is
Yeah.
failing at every turn. He's trying to like make himself
Yep.
look good. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, he's kind of the white collar worker of the Shi'ar here.
Yes.
He's just
like,
waiting for the memo to come in that he can go back to his office or something.
I wonder what he did back in the Shi'ar Empire to get like relegated to this crappy little part of the universe.
Storm had to stay behind to get Jubilee out of the security after they arrested her. But I'm just wondering, why didn't Xavier use his powers just to let her walk out?
Yeah. Well, like remember
so-
in
anyway.
what is it? Is it Generation X? Is that the movie that we did where
Yep.
Emma Frost, like people get
Yes.
caught and she just walks in and she's like, "Oh yeah, they're with me," and then they just
Yeah.
leave. That's what I thought was
Hey,
going to
we're
happen.
going to be talking about Gen X in another episode, so hold your horses.
They're coming back.
So Eric the Red is voiced by Lawrence Bain, who is also the voice of Cable.
Yeah, and I thought that it sounded really familiar, but
He
I
kinda
didn't
sounds
latch on to
like-
Cable.
Yeah, he sounds like the Sabretooth voice actor.
Oh, is that what it is? 'Cause he
I
kept
feel
talking
like.
and I kept being like, "Who is that? I know that voice."
Yeah, if
And
at one point
also-
Eric the Red had been like, "Listen here, girly," you would have been like
Yeah.
Sabretooth.
Yes.
But no, it's Cable and then later Fabian Cortez. So
Yeah, well, but anyway, he's taken over the space station, just an Earth
Mm-hmm.
space station,
yeah.
and he's waiting for Lilandra to
Yeah,
come.
he's waiting for the ship to come through the wormhole. He's explaining the thing that you're studying is what you primitive culture would call a black hole or a wormhole or whatnot. And so the X-Men stop him and try to rescue the crew. and they get their own ship. And Eric the Red is all upset. He's in his ship like Vader at the end of New Hope.
Yeah,
And
like,
yep, we get to the whole argument about who's gonna fly because the captain gets knocked out.
well, does he? It's something
Or
because
electrocuted.
it's something
I
because
literally
they're
just watched it
going-
like 40 minutes ago, and I can't remember
know.
what happened to him.
They have to escape from the station because
Right.
all of their blasting made it explode. And
Yeah.
then they get like the controls don't work or something, and they're gonna
Mhm.
get into the contrail of Lilandra's ship, and that's gonna
Yeah,
be
the radiation.
too much radiation.
So
and so they have
there's
to
a-
hide in some internal thing.
There's a thing there that it's a solar observer or whatnot, but it's safe from radiation. The problem is that the captain, the pilot who's going to fly, gets knocked out, and so now they have to. I'm sorry, he doesn't get knocked out. The pilot is like, all right, I'll stay.
Right.
And,
but then he would die.
Right. So Jean steals borrows. She uses her telepathic powers to figure out how to fly one of these things.
I love
And
how
she's
she
like-
does it because she just like as she's talking and saying what
Mm-hmm.
she's going to do, she's just doing it. Like she doesn't
Yeah.
ask him. She doesn't.
No.
She's just like, here's what I'll do. I'll just take his memories and I'll just use
Mm-hmm.
them so I can know how to fly the shuttle.
But Cyclops is like, I'm the leader. I'm going to stay behind. And Jean's like, no, you're not. And knocks him out. So now there's two of them knocked out. And they buckle him up in those big little buckles. Just like a little booster seat for a little toddler in there. And it's funny because Wolverine's like, Jean. And she's like, don't tell me to stay. He's like, I wouldn't. I just, good luck. And she kisses him on the cheek. And I'm thinking like, wouldn't Wolverine survive the radiation?
Well, that's something that didn't occur to me, but probably, yeah.
She could just transfer how to fly a thing to him, and then
I
he could
wouldn't
fly.
be
And
that surprised if he already knew how to fly it.
yeah, I mean, at this point. But then if Wolverine got hit by that and he becomes the Phoenix, what would that look like?
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh, let's all imagine that. We've all
and so
seen
Jean-
what Cyclops is like as Phoenix.
yeah.
Not cool.
So Jean pilots it like she does in the comics and is flying down as she goes through radiation, but it starts getting harder to do, and then she's screaming because she's being irradiated.
Yeah, and
there's a
she,
line
like,
in the
sort of
comics.
calls for help.
Yeah.
And that's sort of when the Phoenix starts to take over a little bit. And I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Like she's sort of like accepted the Phoenix in some way.
Yeah. In the comics, she yells Scott, and I missed there's a line in the comics where she says, like, 27 minutes to Earth's atmosphere. Not long at all. Just the rest of my life.
That's a good line.
Yeah. But she doesn't get that in here. Maybe because kids would be like, what does that mean? What is death, Mom?
Let's all discuss death, please.
What is
I
mortality?
find it? But she passes out, and that's just it, right? Like she passes out, and then the next time we see her, she's in the hospital.
I mean, that's the end of the first episode. That's the end of part one. Her screaming, flying
That's
down to
right.
Earth with everything on fire.
Yeah. So, first impressions of the first episode, Eric. What do you think?
Good. I mean,
pretty good.
there's a lot of table setting going on in these like first two episodes, even
Yeah.
three. There's just a lot of like moving pieces so that they can be the Phoenix Saga that we're watching. You got to get the X-Men up there. You got to introduce a whole lot of people, but it actually moves pretty quickly for the amount of exposition you would expect.
Yeah, it does. I think it was a really good idea for them to sort of like plant the Lilandra communication stuff in the previous two episodes because there is so much that they're trying to cram in here that just like, having this like and someone's talking to Xavier. Just get that in your mind.
So that was part one, Sacrifice. Another X-Men animated episode is going to be called Sacrifice. So what the heck? No, wait. I'm thinking Sanctuary. Never mind. Those are different words that start with S.
Maybe it would be Sacrifices, and that would be different
Yeah.
stuff.
Part two, The Dark Shroud, which, as we know, came out the next day.
The next day. I don't know if I could
Yeah.
just sit like day after day for 5 days watching this. I don't know.
Okay.
Would
I
you
think
have-
in binge society, I think we've got the skills we would need to survive
I think
this.
that I don't know. I think it's the separate days that does it. Because, like, conceivably, I could, like, for an event, I could sit and watch 5 episodes. But,
Right.
like, coming back again and then, like, the next one. And each one's only half an hour, and that's not really enough for binging. I don't know. I can't remember
boy.
what 90s Hillary was like for that kind of thing.
Well, she sounds really particular.
But, okay, so when part 2 starts...
Yeah, the shuttle is crashing down and into the I guess it's the Hudson. I don't know New York rivers. Is that the only river in New York? It doesn't matter.
In a river in New York.
But all the X-Men's seatbelts just snap. Like, they just come undone.
They're not designed for this, Eric.
I just don't understand why a space shuttle has bad seatbelts.
It's a lot of stress. They're also very nervous about, like, being in this sinking thing, like, in the river. And I'm just like, just blast something, you guys. Like, this is not a big deal for this particular group of people. But finally, Wolverine slashes the thing, and they all escape the thing. Cyclops, Wolverine, all of them pop out of the water, but they don't find Jean.
Nope. They're looking for her. They're yelling her name, like that will help somebody who's drowning. And then she comes out of the water, and she says, I am Phoenix, and she doesn't say her whole speech from the comics about the whole I'm fire made flesh, power incarnate, and everything. But she just says, I am Phoenix. There's a lot of anime influence animation.
Oh, I didn't notice.
These episodes. I was picking that up a lot more in these 5 and maybe the other 2, because like when she comes out of the water, it's those like blue, it's those like lines, you know what I mean? It's a blue background with the rushing lines there to let you know that she's moving fast, as opposed to just like a background there. And as soon as I saw that, I was just noticing a whole lot more throughout this, like character models, stances, even like camera angles. Everything felt a lot more influenced by the 90s anime at the time.
Oh, that's interesting. I did notice there was one shot that was like a close-up of her eye that made me think of like a Gundam kind of
yes,
animation.
That's the vibe I got, like that late 80s, early 90s Gundam look. That's exactly what I was picking up on.
Interesting.
Yeah. She comes out in the green Phoenix costume, and then when she comes back out of the water, it's gone.
Phoenix.
Yep.
Just costume changes.
So she's in the hospital now, and all the X-Men are just kind of worried and doing their own things.
Yeah, Wolverine and let me just say the X-Men are dealing with this situation because Rogue, remember, is not here, and Jubilee is a child, and so we just have Jean
and Storm is where?
We keep seeing her like meditating on a bridge somewhere. I don't really know why.
Yeah,
but she's just not really a part of this. But, like, we just have Jean in a hospital bed with, like, a bunch of men surrounding her being like, now listen, we just don't understand what's happening to you, so you just need to stay put.
She's Jean! You know we're in love with her!
It's quite a look. But
you always
disoriented, she feels powerful, but she doesn't really know what's going on.
You always know that that it's more of a grown-up Wolverine moment when he's wearing that black muscle shirt.
He's gonna
with
have
those like those yellow and especially when he's beating the crap out of trash cans. That's a Wolverine you don't want to mess with.
Oh my word, yeah. Because Beast leaves because he's gonna do sciencey things, and he finds Wolverine just having a hissy fit in a
Beast in his Howard the Duck shirt.
Yes, I saw that. That was so funny.
There is a funny line where Beast is like, "Are you okay?" And he's just smashing stuff, and Beast is just like, "Science can wait."
Yeah. Well, I thought that was sweet. I thought it was nice that he was like, "Oh, my friend needs help. Let's go."
But it didn't work because Beast tried to hail a cab, and when they see Beast, they drive away, and Beast is like, "Oh, it's so hard to get a cab in New York."
Listen, it was cheesy, but I thought it was really funny.
And then Wolverine's just like, "Nice try being nice to me, but no one can be nice to me," and then walks off.
Alone.
Yep.
Nothing bad's gonna happen as a result of me being by myself.
So Xavier, stressed out from his visions and probably his love of Jean, is going to the roof. How is this? Does the roof have? I guess he uses his hover chair, because I'm like, I don't know if the roof is handy-capable access.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
It's a hospital. Doesn't it seem like everything would be?
The roof. You think they're gonna put wheelchair access to the roof?
I don't know, but he gets in his tiny little.
He does have a floating
jet thing.
Yep, his little yellow jet, but it crashes because he has those visions again, and they're pulling him up. He's like, ah!
Yeah, man, those visions screw him up. Why is it so intense for him?
I don't know. Maybe he gets vertigo. Like when he's seeing space and he doesn't know which way. Yeah,
but he can't take other people invading him, I guess.
Well, it's I don't know, but that's I guess his as he later explains it, all the darkness and destructive desires that lie in everybody, mind you, in everybody.
All people.
Those barriers break, and a Dark Professor X shows up, along with his own little Dark Professor music, and he goes off to torture the X-Men.
Yeah, which I thought this was a really funny kind of side plot to throw in here,
It does feel like a scene, like time filling when you're doing the Phoenix Saga.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's not a thing that other characters have happen to them. It's not like part of being, it's just this, it's like a fluke, you know? It's like because Lilandra is probing around in his mind, it breaks down his, you know, whatever protections so that like all of his dark thoughts come out. But what I like about it is that it really is his thoughts. Like, all of these things that come out. So evil Xavier is just like an astral projection, but he goes and finds all of the X-Men in the various places where they are and just sort of destroys them emotionally.
Yeah. So with Wolverine, who's in the subway, he shows up as Yuriko from just 2 episodes ago, and Wolverine's like, "Oh." Then it turns out that Sabretooth is there, but it's not Sabretooth, it's Deadpool. But it's not Deadpool, it's the Professor. Walking?
What?
And that's the reaction they all have. Like, that's the weirdest thing happening right now. So he gets knocked out, and then he Jubilees on a train track, but it's not really Jubilee, and so Wolverine avoids the subway, and then he says, "Next time I'm walking."
Wolverine gets the most intense, like, illusion stuff happens. Everyone else Xavier's just like, "You're a jerk, and I never liked you."
Yeah, but for him, it's like a psychological warfare. Yeah. It's like Sabretooth after he killed Silver Fox, Deadpool, you know.
But anyway, he tries to take down Wolverine. He doesn't really take him down, but it's confusing.
Then they bother Gambit. Then he bothers Gambit and Jubilee. Gambit is taking Jubilee to a Broadway show, as she said. They can't actually say anything. Just at this point, I don't know.
All right. Well, anyway, they're going to go to this show, but then Xavier shows up and is like, "Gambit, you can't be trusted."
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did just tell Rogue he loved her, and now he's like hitting on the lady right in line for the Broadway show.
Can't be trusted.
It's funny because he's like, the Broadway show has to end, but after the show's over, Gambit's still gonna be up.
And I'll just send you home, I guess.
Yeah.
You can just get out.
Just give a taxi driver a bunch of cash and like take her to the mansion. Don't wait up.
Lady to entertain.
He calls Xavier. Oh boy, I can't speak French.
Monsieur Ghost.
Mr. Ghost, basically, yeah. Which I think is
I liked that. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, Mr. Ghost. And then after he annoys that Wolverine shows up, there was build up to something that doesn't happen. They kind of mention it, but like the X-Men are just like destroying public property, but no one can see Xavier. So it looks like in like a different story that's just focusing on mutant-human relations that the X-Men are just, the mutants are just causing chaos.
Yeah, they're just like tearing stuff apart.
But they don't really play on that
because they've been doing this. And I thought it was kind of interesting because they're like, "You're under arrest." And Jubilee's like, "No, arrest him." And the police actually take a moment and they're like, Who do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just this moment of reasonable reaction just in case.
Storm shows up and gives them some fog to get out. And then Mr. Ghost Xavier shows up in the hospital room and bothers... I keep saying bothers.
I mean, it's basically what he's doing. Like, he's not really causing damage.
He bothers Cyclops and Jean, and Cyclops, he gets blasted backwards, and he's like, "Stop! I don't want to hurt you, Professor!" And then he uses his optic blast, which I don't think do anything else but hurt.
I think it's exclusively hurting, yeah. I was a little disappointed because, like, the way they spent so much time on him talking to Wolverine and, like, haunting him, basically.
He says stuff about Gambit, like, "You can't be trusted."
Yeah, I was wanting to see him kind of, like, take down each individual...
Yeah, just lay into Cyclops. You sniveling little...
Yeah, Cyclops is a perfect target. But he just basically tries to push him out a window, I guess. And Jean stops him.
You know, Cyclops is a perfect target has been spoken by every comic writer and movie scripter for the past 25 years. Yeah, he's a perfect target. What a little snot. Cyclops is just constantly having his books knocked out of his hands by writers.
You're a nerd. Get out of here.
Stop it! I just want to date Jean!
Nobody likes you.
Jean does! Nuh-uh, not all the time.
What about Wolverine? Ooh.
Yeah, and this is where Xavier's like, "It was my dark urges. You know, the dark urges everybody has. This isn't all on me."
This is just a normal reaction that any extremely powerful telepath might have had.
Rogue, Gambit, Jean, you all have, not just me.
Any given person. But then also, like, some rando is spying for them, or spying on them for Eric the Red. And Eric the Red is like, "Aha, So Xavier is the secret.
Yep. And so Xavier's leaving. He's gonna go to visit a friend so that he can like not be a threat to the X-Men while these visions are driving him insane. Mm-hmm. And it's Muir Island, and we meet Moira and Banshee for the first time. Banshee voiced by Jeremy Ratchford, who played Banshee in the Generation X pilot movie that we watched.
Very cool. I like that a lot.
Dr. Moira McTaggart is Lally Cadro. I'm probably saying that. Cadeau? Lally Cadeau. Thank you. Yeah. I can't see anything that I would recognize. She still acted. So she was in an episode of the Murdoch Mysteries. So there you go.
She mostly just does a really excellent, pristine accent, I think is her.
You know, I say that, but she also played Kate Brown in a show called Hangin' In, which lasted for 6 years, and she was in 105 episodes. So I didn't mean to dismiss her work there.
She is a working actor.
Wait. Oh, she was in Rupert.
Rupert?
Yeah, she played Mrs. Bear in Rupert.
Oh my gosh. Let's all just take a deep dive into her career for a second here.
And Rupert. Anyways, that's who's playing what did I say? Lally Cadeau is playing Moira McTaggart.
So we have her, we have Sean Cassidy doing their crazy accents, and we find out that they're engaged, which is a surprise to Xavier.
Yeah, it's does she say fiance? She does, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
Yeah, and Xavier's like, oh, well, I'll be in my room. I definitely thought something was going to happen this weekend.
Everything is fine. I'm fine.
And so he's when he goes to his room, he's talking about the vision. He's like, somehow I feel like you're the cure for my loneliness.
Yeah, and he's like gazing out at Moira.
I do wish. I know this is a kid's cartoon, but I do. We've seen it enough with like all the other X-Men. I do wish we had like a little, like one more beat prior, like in the first episode, on Xavier's just kind of feeling lonely because his life is just his students and he doesn't have anyone to love.
Yeah. Well, Moira talks about that, but it's sort of the first we've seen that discussed.
Yeah. So that would have been a nice like character moment for Xavier that we didn't get. But yeah, boy, they are not shy about talking about how lonely Xavier is.
He's very
Banshee and Moira, they're just talking like, yeah, all his students, he's got nothing, he's got no one, he's in love with me.
If you ask me, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's all by himself and lonely and sad.
But then Xavier gets hit by another one of those visions. He's like, you are driving me mad, but I know I can't push you away. And it turns out he created a psychic wormhole.
Yeah. I mean, it sort of feels like that must have been what Lilandra was trying to do, like trying to connect with him so that he could physically pull her to
because they have visions of each other. Yeah.
Which is a thing, apparently.
Yeah, it's Lilandra. So that's fun. She's voiced by Camilla Scott, who has voiced Mama Bear a lot in the Berenstein Bear stuff.
Oh, I love the Bears.
She was in 138 episodes of Days of Our Lives.
Oh, wow.
In 1991.
That feels
so you
like
could be
nothing for Days of Our Lives.
Yeah.
Like
well, it says 1990.
Episodes.
Yeah, it says 1990 to 1991, and she's in 138 between that. Yeah, the episodes she started in were like, look at that, episode 1000. She's in the 1600s.
Wow.
She's in the 1600s.
That's really the peak, I think, of Days of Our
Lives. She played a stewardess in Tommy Boy.
Okay, sure.
So
I remember her work well.
She played Shala Bal in the Silver Surfer animated series. Shala Bal being that's Silver Surfer's wife, love, his true love. On that planet that's doomed or something.
His true love.
Yeah, so anyways, she shows up and she's like, you need to help me. And she psychically tells him the whole story about Deken and the Emkron crystal.
Yeah, because she's the sister of the emperor of the Shi'ar Empire.
Hillary, between the ages of 15 to probably about 19, I definitely focused. I definitely thought way more about Deken and the Emkron crystal. It was funny just watching these and just getting a flashback to when such things were such a huge part of my life. Just hearing the word Emkron crystal is like, oh my gosh, everything was the Emkron crystal back then.
Did you do a dissertation or something?
Yeah, I wrote a dissertation on how absolute power corrupts us absolutely. using the Mcron crystal to Ken and the Phoenix Saga as my basis. But seriously, it felt like I was reading old issues of the X-Men, and that was the Phoenix Saga with Duquesne and the Mcron crystal. The animated series was doing it. The Mcron crystal was a part of the issues with the Age of Apocalypse X-Men series. It was just like nonstop. But like you never really. I guess they came back later when Ed Brubaker did his X-Men run, but it's not like Duquesne is, the fan favorite villain that's always showing up when we're always like, put Duquesne in the movies.
It was just exactly the right moment for you.
But at a right time in my life, I definitely read those words way more than I was reading other words.
We don't get that much of like the politics in this show.
Not yet, yeah.
It seems like there's a lot going on there. But she steals the Mcron, or she stole the Mcron crystal from her brother, right?
Because Duquesne's going to use it, and Duquesne's her brother. He's going to use it and do bad things with it. And as she's explaining this, Juggernaut shows up. A lot happens in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because now Juggernaut shows up, and this is the first time we've seen Juggernaut with Xavier.
This is the first time, really?
Because his first episode, Xavier wasn't there.
That's
Xavier was
right.
at Muir Island, which led to the whole Cure episode, which was kind of lame for the first Juggernaut episode not to have Xavier in it. So this is the first time you have Juggernaut being like, aha, dear old stepbrother, I'm going to pound your face in.
You are the greatest motivation of my life. Just punch in your face.
Yeah, and so he's going to beat him up, and then Lilandra blasts off his helmet. He's like, hey... Oh, gosh, that's all next episode. Yeah. Sorry.
Save it, Eric.
Juggernaut shows up, and that's the cliffhanger. In this one,
all she does is, like, pound on his shoulder. She's like,
Yeah, and that spacesuit, yeah. So that was Dark Shroud.
Yeah, that's the end of the second episode. So now where everybody is Xavier, Juggernaut, Lilandra are on Muir Island, and Cyclops and Jean are still in the hospital, right?
Yep.
And then where are the other
guys? The X-Men are just hanging out, doing their own thing. Probably also at the hospital, pouting.
Just pouting at the hospital.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Jean? So that's where we are at the end of episode 2 of the Phoenix Saga.
Yeah. And it's fine. It feels like I said, there's some, like, filler in there with the whole Dark Xavier, especially because that, like, ends, and then there's still so much of the episode after that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand why they have that just from like getting him to have to leave the X-Men. Like that's the reason he goes to Muir Island. But I don't know. It does feel like it's the wrong amount of content. It's like too much and not enough, depending on what they want to do with it. But I guess
it doesn't feel like the Phoenix Saga is the one that you need filler in.
Yeah,
but here we are.
Just like have him go crazy and
filling it out.
He's gonna go figure it out. But whatever.
Yeah. So the next episode is called Cry of the Banshee.
Because we get to hear the cry of the Banshee.
Yeah, we do. We'll hear his scream later, which is definitely an annoying power. Every time I've seen it, they always do a good job of showing why it would be annoying to fight Banshee.
It's super annoying. And I wish that it was like a weird sound and not
instead
like
of just like
human, but it's just some dude being like, eh!
Yeah, it's always just somebody screaming and then like modulating that and not just like gross. I don't know. Yeah, again, I'm human, so I
just want some sort of like a computer sound or something. I don't know, something not that. But anyway, so when we get to the beginning of part 3, we see the scene from the previous episode, but from Moira's perspective.
As they're talking about how lonely Professor X is and how pathetic he is. When they see something explode, she's like, I gotta help him. And Banshee's like, I'm coming with you. She's like, no, I don't know what he'll do out of jealousy for me.
Yeah.
And Banshee's like, it's because I love you that I have to go with you, hon.
That was a better accent, I think, than...
And so they run off to go see what's happening. And so this is funny. In last episode, Lilandra was in a full metal spacesuit that made her look 8 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
Cut to Lilandra now, and basically, I guess a one piece?
Yeah, with like fishnet boots.
Fishnet boots, that little spider brooch, and no back. And
listen,
it's
you
definitely
have to be practical when traveling in space.
I see this, and I'm just like, so Juggernaut showed up, and then she's like, hold on. And then she changed?
Yeah. We didn't
It's
see that
just-
part. We didn't see it, but it happened.
It's funny the things that can get past censors in kids' cartoon. Like a censor saw this, like, no, this is cool.
We're okay with this.
But don't you mention anybody being able to die
Don't
ever.
do it.
Don't
They are
even
destroyed.
suggest that humans have a very finite time on Earth.
Wait, what do you mean, Eric? What are you talking
Oh
about?
no. I forgot you only watch
Mortality.
cartoons.
But okay, so she's fighting. She's trying to protect Xavier from Juggernaut, which is a totally normal thing. She shoots him with the blaster. Still not gonna do anything.
Juggernaut has a line that I like because she says, "Stay back, I'm warning you," and Juggernaut's like, "Oh please, don't warn me." And I don't know how you feel about. I think we've talked about it on how you like Juggernaut or not.
I don't super care one way or another. I don't
Okay.
think if they would explore his relationship with Xavier more, I think I'd care more, but mostly I'm just like, okay, whatever.
I like Juggernaut because Juggernaut likes being Juggernaut.
That's true.
That's something I like about him. And also just because he's just this like he's such a simple character in that like he's big and powerful. He's like he should be somebody that's like Thor's main villain. You know what I mean? But he also doesn't have like
doesn't have the
goals
vision.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a guy, he's just a regular Joe who got the powers of a god. And he just wants to keep living his regular Joe life about it.
And
so
apparently
I
he's
like
like
those
a muscle for hire guy in this situation.
Yeah, but yeah, the don't warn me cracked me up. But yeah, Xavier's like, blast his helmet. So they blast his helmet and he's mad. He's like, I'm gonna smush ya. And Xavier
Takes his time.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything for a second.
He definitely
there.
makes sure that Lilandra is in the grips of death.
Yes. And then
In Juggernaut's hands.
And he doesn't just like shut down Juggernaut either. He just
No,
sort of like torments him.
He makes him feel the pain of all the pain he's caused.
Yes.
Which includes like bullying Xavier. And he's like, get out of my head,
Dad.
Charles.
Just turn his brain off for a second here.
Yep.
Okay, that works too.
And so
Then Black Tom shows up.
Black Tom shows up with his stupid beard.
Ooh, listen, he walked in that window and I was like, oh, it's Black Tom. Why do I know that?
Yep. Yeah, that's another thing. Black Tom showed up, and like when I was first reading comics, I'm like, wow, Black Tom, he must be really integral to the X-Men mythos. And like he shows up a lot, and he can be an important character sometimes, but it is just the things that were important to me as a teenager that as I moved on, even in X-Men, weren't important anymore.
Yep. It's a sad truth.
But yeah, Black Tom uses his shillelagh energy blast to knock out Xavier, which shuts, and then they're gonna go off. Now
This is where we find out that they've been hired by somebody, presumably Eric Red, to get Lilandra. And Juggernaut is like, I don't super care about the money. I just want to kill my brother, and so he throws him out the window.
And Banshee luckily saves him with his screaming flying powers.
Screaming.
I like when Juggernaut puts his helmet back on, you get that green glow because his powers are magic. It's not just that he puts his helmet on. They threw in that extra touch so that I like that extra touch. The show has been doing all those little like extra things and I'm liking it.
Yeah, I do like that.
So when Xavier is there talking to Moira and Moira's like, oh, Charles, I didn't know it was this bad. You made up explosion sounds and your stepbrother being here with his life partner and, all this stuff.
His life partner.
Well, that's pretty insinuated these days. But the model of Moira when she's standing in the background listening to Xavier, that made me think Gundam. She, like, everything about her design just screams like that, like G Gundam to me.
Yeah. That's funny. I'll have to go back and look. I didn't notice any of that.
And I just had never noticed that before. It was just this one watch. I'm like, wow, there's so much more anime influence than I was expecting.
Somebody was just really into it at the moment.
I like when they're at the hospital and they have to go help Xavier and Cyclops is like, Wolverine's right.
Yeah,
and you can just the acting in that you can just hear how much Cyclops doesn't want to admit it. I love it. It's just not. It's not just. And they haven't been fighting at all these two episodes outside of that like sorry dad, but like just that delivery. It's like it just stays so true to them. Like Cyclops hates saying Wolverine is right.
And it's also cool.
I love it.
It's like a surprising moment too because like everybody's making pretty compelling arguments about Xavier told us not to listen to him basically because like he's having this weird mental break. So like maybe we just shouldn't and all this stuff and then he's like no, we should. He's right. We got to go. We got to deal with the situation. And it means them leaving Jean who he doesn't want to leave. But he doesn't end up leaving her. He stays. But he sends the rest of the X-Men to investigate. This is when Rogue is back. And she's
Rogue is there now.
Why wasn't I there?
Well, now you can use her in the story because there's things to hit.
Now there's Juggernaut, for instance.
So they go, and it's funny. I like this, like, just order of events where Black Tom's like, now where's my money? And Eric the Red's, here's your payment, and then blast him. He's like, now get me Lilandra. And then Juggernaut shows up and picks him up, and he's like, we want our money. He's like, okay, here's your reward, and then starts blasting Juggernaut. And it's just like, just the way he's so doesn't want to pay. And what does he care?
And later when he does, he's like, here's your meanerless money. And I'm like, you were so trying not to give this to
know. Them. It's so, I just feel like there's a script where he said, like, here's your reward 5 more times without paying them. And it's just not working out for him.
Well, I just like how surprised he is that he can't do anything to Juggernaut.
I know. And that's another thing I like about Juggernaut just being here. Just like, as Eric the Red, who seems to be a problem, shows up, Juggernaut's like, I don't care. Give me my money.
Yeah. And he doesn't have any higher purpose. Just like, I'm just going to be here being a wall for you.
Cut to Cassidy Keep, which actually belongs to Banshee. And in the comics, when we went to Cassidy Keep during this whole saga, there were leprechauns. And the leprechauns were the first people to let us know that Wolverine's name was Logan.
Oh,
but they're not here.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, they never get mentioned again. But I want to read stories written now where the leprechauns at Cassidy Keep are super important and do know a lot of... Because Wolverine's like, how do you know my name's Logan? And like,
we're magic. So they're there because Tom is... In this, he's his half-brother.
Wolverine cracks me up because they're going into the castle. And they're like, we gotta rescue Xavier. But, he says something about this Lilandra we have to save. We've never seen her. How do we, and he says, she's from another galaxy. You see a woman you don't know? Rescue her.
I love that line.
It's so funny.
That's my favorite from the whole series so far.
It's just so, it's so good. And I love that it's coming from Wolverine.
See a woman you don't know? Rescue her.
Yep. So then there's a whole bunch of fighting between the X-Men and 2 people. I guess also Eric the Red is there.
Yeah, Eric the Red is there.
It seems like I guess Juggernaut's there, so you're not really overpowering them. But Black Tom and Banshee, their powers don't affect each other because they're brothers, which is a thing in the X-Men universe. Like with Scott and Alex, their powers don't work on each other. But because Black Tom's power seems to be force projection from his shillelagh. Later, it's like plant powers and stuff. But like Banshee's power is that he screams, and it seems like that would still affect you. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's like they can withstand
maybe.
it. Like rather than it being ineffectual, they just have like some ability to withstand it. I don't know.
Yep.
But they're fighting each other. Eric and Gambit
there's a lot of fighting
that are fighting.
Yeah, and Jubilee is dealing with Juggernaut, and then Rogue is beating up Juggernaut, and then Jubilee saves Rogue, but then, they're all fighting Juggernaut. This episode, I don't know if you've ever watched those old YouTube videos. They came out, gosh, I want to say like 2005. Maybe I'm wrong. The whole I'm the Juggernaut B word.
No.
That became like a whole internet meme in the early aughts, and then they included in X-Men 3, The Last Stand.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that.
So when Juggernaut is yelling at Kitty, he's like, "Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut," and calls her the B word.
And that's from
those YouTube videos. It's just these episodes dubbed by people just saying a whole bunch of stuff.
That's hilarious. I love that.
And Juggernaut's just saying that line all the time. So it made it into the movie. So congratulations. But that's what we're watching, those episodes.
That's funny. But
what was I gonna say?
In the chaos, the bad guys take Lilandra and get out of there.
Yeah, but I wanted to say that this is another instant where like the fight animation is always better than I like think in my head that it is.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like Gambit bouncing off screen, and then Cyclops off screen, and then this person coming on screen. There's a lot of just back and forth that I like. And again, the camera. I feel like there's a lot of like closer up shots that are like at angles that maybe we wouldn't have seen before. I mean, I might be wrong, but I was definitely being struck by the direction of these episodes.
Yeah,
and again,
I wonder if it's maybe like a Larry Houston, like a specific director thing, because I know that we've talked about camera angles before, but I can't think specifically.
Maybe they've just had more budget to do that stuff. Maybe the animation studio is up in their game. Gladiator shows up. We see him flying from his point of view, so you just see his fist flying through space like Superman.
Yeah. It was pretty cool because it's like you have the fists and then you cut back to the X-Men and then you have the fists and then you cut back to the X-Men. So it's like a little build-up for his appearance.
And then Gladiator shows up. And I do have a soft spot in my heart for Gladiator.
Oh, yeah?
Because, again, there was one of those things that just seemed super important to the X-Men and my own life at the time because he was there. And I remember reading X-Men Mutant Empire had the Imperial Guard there. There was a point in my life where I was trying to memorize all the names of the Imperial Guard, and that was a fool's errand. Yeah. But I used to just like in the that Ultimate X-Men DK encyclopedia, they just had like all of them there, so with their names.
Listen, I went through a period where I was trying to memorize all of the pieces of the Enterprise, like the engines and stuff. So I guess I can't judge.
Mapping out your own blueprints.
Yeah.
Gladiator is voiced by Richard Epcar, who is the voice actor of way too much to mention. I know him most from a few things, such as Ghost in the Shell, where he does the voice of Bato.
Oh, I've never watched that.
And like every Ghost in the Shell thing, but also he was the voice of Ziggy in the video game Xenosaga, and I love me that first Xenosaga game.
Wow, we have different experiences.
Juggernaut is like, hey, I'm the Juggernaut, don't forget that, I'm coming to punch you, Gladiator, and Gladiator just tosses him into the ocean.
Yeah, which is really, I think that's a really, it's got some good build-up, because you've had the entire previous, all the interactions of these super powerful people, and like Eric the Red goes after Juggernaut and can't even put a dent on him. So like it's a nice thing to have when this guy comes and he's like, so that guy who none of you can beat, I just toss into the ocean.
I forget how Gladiator's powers work. He's like as strong as he believes himself to be, and it like relates to his
loyalty?
Yeah, it's like based off his loyalty to the Empire as well. So like he's a strong guy.
Yeah.
But he's not the X-Men character's strong guy. I don't want to confuse everybody here.
He's Gladiator. We're talking about Gladiator.
Yep. Yeah, blue guy, mohawk, can't miss him.
But he comes, he talks to Eric the Red and is like, so you failed. You're an idiot.
Yeah, and we just saw him throw Juggernaut away, so we must be like, he must be the strongest person ever.
Yep.
And then Jean realizes there's problems.
Well, see, I like this moment because, like, Xavier is he's sort of out of it, but he starts to like project out to all of the X-Men that he needs something. And Jean, who has just been like convalescing in the hospital, hears it and is like, oh, I have to go to Muir Island. Here we go.
Yep. And she flies out as the Phoenix and tosses Gladiator into space. He just threw Juggernaut in the ocean and she's tossing him into space.
We've got some powers going.
So I guess in the comics, I was reading this. I can't remember what the interview was. I think it was in the Creators On book that Tom DeFalco did, where they wanted Jean, when she was Phoenix, to fight Thor and win. It might have been Thor or Silver Surfer. I can't remember who it was. I think it's Thor. Mm-hmm. And the Marvel higher-ups were like, no way are you having Thor beaten by a girl.
Oh, I hate those people. I hate those people.
So instead, Claremont and Cockrum at the time? It must be Cockrum. They had Jean fight and defeat Firelord. And Firelord was this character who's, I think, part of Shi'ar as well. But he fought to a standstill Thor.
Okay, so
they went around basically showing that Jean was still stronger than Thor.
Well, all right, I'll take that.
So it wasn't Claremont who was doing that.
It was Claremont. I'm never gonna say
no. So it was but yeah, they were fine. He can't beat Thor. Here's somebody who fought Thor to a standstill, and she can beat Thor. She can beat him. So she's stronger than Thor. So it reminds this whole like he beat Juggernaut, she beat him, reminds me of that power thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we see that Jean now is Phoenix and she's strong. And it's too late. The Ken's here.
Ah, the Emperor.
Yeah,
he's here.
End of the episode.
The end.
There you go.
And now we are at a cliffhanger because we're going to talk about the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's a good stopping point because we're going to be in space a lot next.
Yeah, it'll be a whole different vibe.
We'll be in we'll be in space, and then we'll be in the Mcron crystal. If you can believe it, they do that. We go into the Mcron crystal.
What?
So hold your horses.
But how?
Hey, Richard Epcar was also in Ninja Scroll. I remember watching that movie. That movie was BA.
I did not watch a lot of anime movies. I was all into the shows.
There was I go into phases where like I want to catch up on a lot of the movies. Mm-hmm. So back when I worked in Western New York at the library, I definitely abused my powers of being the one who bought the DVDs to get a lot of anime that I wanted to watch and or finish.
Well, now they have a really good anime collection.
They have a great anime collection, but there was a time where I was like, oh, I gotta finish Blue Gender, and it's not anywhere to stream. Guess I'm buying the library Blue Gender. I don't know if there's a demand for it.
Blue Gender was
I want to watch it.
Was that Toonami or was that...
That was Adult Swim. That's kind of it's in the future. A bunch of bug aliens have invaded Earth, and a guy gets woken up from cryo sleep, and it's like, what? No!
Yeah. That was at the time when they were starting to bring over more, like I watched Toonami and a little bit of Adult Swim, but they started to bring over more of the different styles of anime, and I was like, I want the style of anime that I want, and so I didn't watch it.
No, that was the era of like Fooly Cooly and Blue Gender, and there was something else I remember coming out at that time, but it was like after Bebop and Trigun had kind of, nailed it down of what Adult Swim was going to be.
Yeah.
And they were like, let's try some weirder stuff. Oh, man. If there was an affordable DVD copy of Kakaider, he's an android Kakaider. There was like a 13 episode and then some OAVs that I really wanted, and you can't get them for less than like $300 now.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
That's a
sad
okay. I'm here.
All right, sorry.
I'm just letting you talk about your anime obsession.
You were anime obsessed.
I was.
Shut up! Didn't you write Sailor Moon fanfic?
What? No! Don't put that on me. I did not.
That's not you. That's not you and your sister.
We wrote. Listen, okay, we wrote some fanfic, but not Sailor Moon.
I thought you had. I thought that's what you had told me you had written.
Oh, you're thinking we did a anime music video to a Sailor Moon.
A Sailor Moon. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. Well, then don't.
I'm not going to cast any more stones, all right?
All right. Anyway, those are how are you feeling basically now at the, I don't know, it's been half this thing. I mean, 7 episodes. We've watched 5 episodes if you count those first 2 prequel episodes. How are you feeling? I'm
enjoying it more than I thought I would. Like, I definitely remember it, but it's not... I don't know. I always have a negative association because it felt like every time I wanted to watch an episode, it was always just the only thing airing was ever the Phoenix Saga, and so it was just like taking away the other episodes from me. So I didn't have good associations. But as I'm watching it now, I mean, it's pretty good, and they do a good job of balancing like a lot of content, and yeah, I think it's going okay. Yeah,
it's good. It is nice to see just like the Phoenix Saga and not just Jean gets her powers and goes crazy.
Yeah.
It's nice to go back to to see that at one point other people were like, oh, Jean gets her powers and is mostly just powerful for a while. And then like things that are actively trying to turn her to the dark side come later. It's, that's the thing. Like, in the comics and in this show, she gets her power, and she's basically just Phoenix until Mastermind shows up and starts really, like, messing with her head.
Yeah.
And, unlocking in those powers and just, playing these crazy mind games with her and that power level. Whereas in the movies, it's always she gets that power and is just nuts.
Yeah. Which is just that sexist thing of, like, if you give a woman too much power, she's gonna kill people.
Whereas in the comics and then later in this show, it's more like, men are the problem still. Yeah. Hey, sorry, everybody. As a man, sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
I mean, yeah, I've definitely played mind games with Omega level mutants in my time, and I regret doing it. I understand now that was a mistake. I shouldn't have told these Omega level mutants to use their powers for my benefit.
Mutants. Just don't do it. That's a lesson we all have to learn for ourselves.
Yeah, especially men. Enjoying it. The show did a good job with the Phoenix Saga, and these 3 episodes prove it.
Yeah, does it line up pretty well from what you read?
I mean, there's so many changes throughout. It's not really like it gets a little bit more faithful going forward. I mean, Cassidy Keep was important, and Jean shows up. I don't remember Jean being bedridden so long.
Yeah,
but that again, it's only been she would have really only been bedridden like 2 episodes, so that's not like the biggest thing, I guess. Like she
Yeah.
did just absorb a whole bunch of radiation and the Phoenix Force.
Yeah,
So
it's
and by
conceivable that could be a
so like at
debilitating
the
experience.
that second episode at the beginning, she has the power and she falls unconscious into the river, and then at the end of this episode, she's full powered and throwing Gladiator around. So it's not too long. It feels kind of long because we keep cutting back to her being like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah. Well, because you keep having her, Phoenix keeps kind of like popping out and being like, I'm the Phoenix. Wait, I'm Jean. I'm the Phoenix.
Yep.
Wait, I'm Jean.
Yep.
It is interesting because when she goes basically at the behest of Xavier to save Lilandra. And then, I don't know, it's like she's talking as Phoenix, but sort of still has that, like, I have to do this thing that basically that Xavier had told her to do. So it's like this weird combination, which I guess makes sense, of like motivations of being Phoenix, but also having like that loyalty that Jean has.
Yeah. More Jean coming up.
Yeah. So next we're going to do the last 2 episodes of the Phoenix Saga. That's going to be next episode.
Yeah. And warning, after the Phoenix Saga, that's when the episode ordering gets a little wonky.
Yeah, but we're going to take care of it.
Yeah, because there are episodes that mention Jean being like just gone, but not, Dark Phoenix stuff. And those come like so much. It's crazy. The ordering is a mess with that stuff.
Yeah, we'll figure out how to make that as clear as possible.
Yeah, it's in the they're listed in the right order in the book previously on X-Men, the making of the animated series. They put all the episodes right.
Yeah, we'll record
they make it
them
right
in the right order, not the crazy order. Not the order from the airing, not the order from the Disney nonsense.
Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah. Disney's such a mess.
Oh, Disney. What have you done to the world? So anyway, that's the first half, basically, of the Phoenix Saga, and then we'll be back with you next time for the conclusion of the Phoenix Saga, and then eventually we'll end up with the Dark Phoenix Saga way down the line.
All right.
Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song. Previously on X-Men is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on this network include 90s Music Got Me Like, This Endorian Life, which Eric was just on. And
I was just on This Endorian Life.
Yes, which was a torturous experience, I understand. Watching Ewoks.
Those Ewoks, yeah.
And 9021, Here We Go. So you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Previously on X. Please rate, subscribe, or share this show wherever you get your podcasts. And see you next time for the end of the Phoenix Saga.
Bye.
Bye. See your woman you don't know? Rescue her.